Hello everyone, my name is Heather Autumn and welcome to my channel. So spring is finally here. It's blue skies. It's still a little chilly out, but I have my windows open about that much, and I can hear the birds, and it's beautiful. I'm just so happy. I went on a walk this morning. Up here in Massachusetts, we get crocuses, which are these like little purple flowers well, they start off little, but they're about this big, and they're usually the first flower that you see poking up through the ground, and I was able to see a few of those. I'm super happy about that, and yeah, so I'm just feeling really happy. There's something about having things warm up for me. I am not a winter person. I tolerate it, but this has just been a huge mood boost, so I'm grateful for that. So when I think of spring, I think of flowers, and one flower in particular that I think of, because you can only see it during the spring, is the sakura or cherry blossom. And so this is going to be cherry themed. I'm going to show you how to make cherry bread with a glaze on top. It looks amazing and I think you'll like it. It's pretty easy to put together too. So this may be a short video now that I think about it, but I will link everything in the description. I'll show you a link to my blog, which will have the whole recipe written out in case you like to follow recipes like that. And yeah, so if you also like cherry things, I recently made a post about how to make mini cheesecakes, and on that I put cherries, but this is going to be completely different. These are cherries that are going to be inside a bread that has a glaze on top, and it's kind of pink in color, which is fun. And yeah, so let's get started. All right, so for the ingredients, you will need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, which I have here, a 1/2 cup of 2% milk. I got it in this little thing because I usually drink skim, but for this recipe, you'll need it. You also need a 1/2 cup of canola oil. If you don't have canola, you can use vegetable oil or even melted coconut oil for this recipe. You will need 1 large egg. My ASMR for the day. You'll need 1 teaspoon of this almond extract, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of this baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of this baking soda. You'll need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 2 jars of maraschino cherries, which you know I have on hand because I like making mixed drinks. And I usually have a few just for the more tropical drinks that I have. You're gonna want the ones that have no stems that you can see here. Otherwise, you're gonna have to like take those all out. And the other thing is too, usually maraschino cherries have a red dye added to them. If you choose the ones that don't have a red dye, this is going to look a little bit more pale. It's not gonna have that pinky look. I personally like the pinky look. That's why I'm doing this. And so I got the ones that have a little bit of dye in them. All right, so I'm gonna move you over to my counter and we're gonna start putting this together. All right, so the first thing you wanna do is heat your oven to 350 degrees. So it's going to be preheating. And the next thing you want to do is spray your cooking pan with some of this Pam cooking spray. And then you want to add in a little bit of flour and coat the entire pan with that. All right, so in a medium bowl, you want to add your sugar, your egg, you want to add your oil, your 2% milk, and your 1/2 teaspoon of the almond extract. Next, in a separate bowl, you want to add your 2 cups of flour, your 1 teaspoon of baking powder, your 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and your 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now you're supposed to add the dry ingredients to the wet ones, but I'm just going to add the wet ones because I think it's easier. And the dry ingredients have a bigger bowl. So we'll just add all of that. And you want to stir until just combined, but not over combined. One thing you have to think about when you're baking is to not over mix your recipe items. The next thing you want to do is take your maraschino cherries and drain them so that all the juice is in one bowl and your cherries are separated out. And you want to set this aside. Next, you want to take some of your cherries and put them out on a board. and coarsely chop them. So you don't have to chop the cherries by hand. I just like to do that because sometimes I use my cooking as a time to like be quiet. Like my house is completely quiet right now, so I use it as a time to just think, and it's a little bit meditative for me. But if you're not like that or you're in a hurry, feel free to just pop them in a food processor and just coarsely chop them that way. Okay, so after you have mixed your batter and cut up your cherries, you're going to add them in and gently fold them into your batter. You don't want to over mix it. Again, you just want to get it to the point where it is all incorporated. And then you want to pour your batter into the prepared baking pan. So just right here. You just want to smooth it out a little, just like that. Alright, so now that your batter is all assembled and your pan is ready to go in the oven, you want to bake it for around 50 to 55 minutes until you can pull it out and insert a toothpick into the center. And if it comes out clean, meaning no batter is stuck to it, then you know it's done. Important that you do the toothpick test on this, because originally I put it in for 55 minutes, and when I pulled it out and I did the toothpick thing, I realized that the inside was still raw. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have known, and it would have rusted, and I would have cut into it, and it would have been a goopy mess. So what I ended up doing is putting it back into the oven. I put some foil on top. I don't know if you can see that there. This was just starting to look a little darker than I would have liked. So I put foil on top to prevent further browning, and I put it back into the oven for another 10 minutes. And of course the toothpick came out clean this time. I'm gonna let it rest in its container for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it on a wire rack and let it rest for an additional 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna show you how to make the glaze to top this. Alright, so I had to move over to a smaller place on the counter in order to make this, but to make the frosting you want to add 1 cup of powdered or confectioner sugar, 1 tablespoon of melted butter, 2.5 tablespoons of the maraschino cherry juice, and half a teaspoon of the pure almond extract. And then you want to mix until you get a frosting. So once your bread is all cooled down, I actually had to put mine in the freezer for a bit. You want to take your frosting, which is right here, and just put it on top. Alright, so that turned out amazing. So I kind of wanted to describe the smell that I was smelling earlier. It reminded me of like cherry Pop-Tarts. That's how my house smelled when this was baking, so I don't know if it has the same taste to it, but I have a bite here, so I'm gonna give it a try. This is fun. This is like a fun, springtimey, I don't even know how to describe it except fun. You can taste the cherries, they have their texture, it's not soggy, and that frosting is just totally what this bread needed because it's sweet and sugary, and it has that same cherry flavor. It feels like a kid made this up, like, oh, cherry bread, but honestly, like, I think that's a great name for it. It's cherry flavored bread with this awesome frosting. This is so good. I definitely recommend making this. I wish I'd made it for Valentine's now because this is like between the pink texture of the bread and then the pink frosting and then the cherries, and it's sweet and it looks perfect for Valentine's. I'm so sorry I didn't post this on Valentine's now. It's still a really great treat for spring, and I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments what you think if you make this. It really didn't take that long. It takes longer for me because I'm filming. It's definitely dark outside now where it wasn't before. But if you like this, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It helps my channel. It lets YouTube know that you're watching my videos, and it lets you know when I have a new episode out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you like this bread. All right, see you next week. Bye.